Yes, yes, yes. Welcome back to the Music Producers Treasure Box podcast. This is your host, FERMI, and what you just heard there was my track Nightlight that was released recently during the course of these last few episodes. What you are tuning into is part 2 of our best of celebration because this is the 25th episode, and man, it has been a blast. It has flown by. There has been some awesome guests, and as you heard, if you tuned in last week, we had some of my favorite highlights, some of my favorite clips from guests sharing insights not only on music production, but also the business side of music. For instance, KJ Blattenbauer with public relations, and so many more. We are going to continue that today. You know, there was a ton of awesome moments that I went through. I went back through the whole vault and I just listened to all the shows, tried to pick out some of my favorite stuff, and there is so many. It is just too hard to choose. However, I am going to try to share with you this week some of my personal favorite moments, and I'm going to highlight artists such as BruceBeats, Ryan Elder, who does the Rick and Morty scoring, lo-fi hip-hop producer Tai.Kun, Walid Azami, the photographer of the stars, King Cash from the UK, and my man DogmaBeats, last but not least. There's been too many guests on the show to really highlight everybody, so I do invite you to go back, listen to the whole catalog, check it out, whether you are a musician who is just starting or somebody who's been in the game for a while, whether you are a fan of music looking to discover some hot new artists in the game or legends in the game in the case of some, I invite you to check it out. Themes on today's show, really consistent with the mission and values that I try to bring to this, is, trying new things and pushing yourself out of your comfort zone. Finding your why, one of the most important steps in any creative process. Working with the best people around you, the best support group that's going to push you forward and not just agree with everything. They're also going to disagree. Not always necessarily working with the cheapest services, right? There's something to be said about the relationship between price and quality. We're going to talk about that and much more. But first, let me give a shout out and call you all to go over to Facebook, join our group. We have a support group for music producers, engineers, and anybody that's interested in getting started in beat making at Facebook. You can find it over at fermimusic.com/Facebook. It'll take you right to the group. Go ahead and join, answer 3 simple questions, and it's a public group. We're just curious your thoughts. Answer those questions, and you will get right in. With that said, let's get into my first clip of the day. There are so many ways to make a living as a musician. Listen to BruceBeats, his insights and what he's doing to get out of his comfort zone. He moved across the country to do something different. He still works a 9 to 5, but he's finding interesting ways to monetize his work, and he shared them on my show recently. Check it out.
I'm selling beats. I'm working with 2 music libraries. I have several credits, Discovery Channel, Netflix, things like that. But, I'm really passionate about helping other people succeed and exactly what I'm doing, because I've struggled so much with day jobs that I hate going to, waking up in the morning and literally screaming on the way to the job and coming home and working for the next 8 hours, just trying to make it happen for myself. And I still actually have a day job and I still come home and do what I need to do, but I'm much further along the path. And I also have a much clearer vision of exactly where I'm going with my career, with my music production career. And this wouldn't have happened if I hadn't left Miami and done something completely different. So this is a decision that literally was very scary, but it has impacted my life in the most positive way. And I wouldn't trade it for the world.
He would not trade that in the world. He moved across country from his native Miami. And we talked a lot more in that episode about that move and about the things that he is doing to monetize his passions in music. He has got a huge future in front of him. And in addition to all that, he also shared one of the most important sentiments, that is finding your why. There's an amazing book by Simon Sinek out there right now. I will link to it in the show notes. But, overall, let's hear what Bruce had to say, because I think he dropped a value bomb here.
Once a week, once every 2 weeks, really get a session where you're just sitting with yourself. You're not worried about music or art or podcasts or content or Instagram or none of that, like none of the external things. Just like, hey, I'm sitting with myself and I'm figuring out, why am I doing this thing? And for me, I said, I want music. Okay, why do I want music? Oh, because I love it. Well, why do I love it? And you keep going and going, asking yourself why. And at least for me and for other people that I've talked to about this, it always stems down to a selfless desire. And for me, it's because I want the best for my family. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but I want the best for my family, and I want to be able to provide for my family. So when I wake up in the morning, I remind myself, yeah, I'm doing this for me, but a deeper part and a more real part is I'm doing this for them, and I will not fail because I cannot fail them. So that really drives me, and it just gets me clearer and clearer on, okay, this is what I need to be doing. And I just feel it. It feels right to do these things. And sometimes you got to do a lot of things, and then you start narrowing your focus because you try this out. You try TV film, you try selling beats, you try making sample packs. I mean, these are just my experiences. And try
a lot of different things.
You try teaching, you try playing live, and then you figure out what you're good at and you figure out what you're really passionate about. And it just kind of narrows it down automatically without you even trying. And once you keep asking yourself these questions, it just really gets super clear. And that motive and that fire just doesn't extinguish.
So much to be said about process, about really having a cadence and a routine, right? When Bruce opened up and started talking about once or twice a week, he has a session where he just dives into his why and keeps going deeper and deeper. That was gold right there. And I hope that you can steal that from him. That's why I do this show, right? That's why they get on and they share their deepest insights and their tips and tricks, their best practices. Go ahead and steal that once or twice a week or once every other week at the least. Just sit back and think, maybe grab a pencil, grab a paper and write out your whys and keep going one level deeper until you touch on that vein, that main artery that can inspire you, motivate you, and drive you forward. Finding the why will allow you to stay consistent and driven. And BruceBeats illustrated that perfectly. Now, one other theme that was really consistent over the last few episodes was the fact that you cannot do everything alone. There are definitely some jacks of all trades that I've had on the show, and there's some guys who have been diving in deep to the side of things like marketing in addition to amazing music. But when I had Walid Azami on my show, he actually touched on some important stuff. We had him on mostly to talk about how to find a photographer that can get you an amazing headshot or a band bio photo, but he went in deep on so many different things on that episode. I could not obviously highlight it all here. Go back and check it out. But I want to jump into a clip about giving credit where it is due. We would appreciate that as producers as well. Acknowledging that you can't lone wolf it. Being frugal when you have to, but also realizing quality and price sometimes do have a correlation. Let's hear what he has to say on this subject with this clip right here.
So first things first is, even if you've paid for the shoot, and we should always pay for the shoot, but put it in the caption. Don't hide that. It's not cool. It's not, we know you didn't take that picture, just like, when, isn't it great when a singer actually says produced by or written by? You're like, oh, thank you.
Yeah.
There's
a lot of memes about that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. And we know there's a lot of huge name stars that take credit for a lot of stuff that they don't do. Mm-hmm. I want to say one name, but I also want to work with her, so I'm not going to say I'm not going to say that.
We'll keep that secret. We'll keep that secret.
So that's one thing. But the other thing, too, is look at the photographer. Now, logistically, look at the photographer, and I'll tell you this. If someone is shooting you for free, there's a reason why they're shooting you for free. And the reason probably is that they're not that good. Okay, so the way especially when a musician comes to me and says, hey, I'm going on a tour, or I'm releasing this new album, or I'm putting out this music video, can you direct it? I've actually written blogs about this where I think of it as only another artist would understand this, but I think to be a true artist and you're a musician or a singer and whatever, that whole genre, you have to have gone through some shit to write that music.
Yeah.
And it comes from a very personal place, and I respect that. And so when somebody gives me their music and says, here, this is from me writing in my journal, to going through the pain, to going in the studio, that's a whole other war front. Mm-hmm. And then getting it out there, and whether it's through a label or independent release, but they're basically saying, help me put visuals to it so it has the best chance of surviving. To me, I look at that as somebody handing me their newborn and saying, help me make this person better.
Right.
So when somebody gives me their music, I don't give it anything less than 100%. I'll kill myself, all-nighters, make sure they get what they deserve in the best way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm going to charge for my expertise. I'm going to charge for my work and my passion and the years of work that I put in, to make a beautiful image. A photographer that doesn't charge generally doesn't give that kind of love to your project.
You can extrapolate some of the key messages that he sent there. Yeah, he starts out with make sure to tag photographers on your Instagram and social media, but he goes into so many more elements that are critical to understand as a creator. First of all, wouldn't it be nice if you could ask artists that you're working with as a producer to mention you in the credits so that you can get additional referrals? People could reach out to you if they like the music and the backing tracks. Yo, that's a best practice right there. In addition to all that, most inspirationally, Walid talks about treating things like babies when people hand him their creations. So when he's getting ready to do a shoot or a video for an artist, he really looks at it as a sacred process, almost akin to raising a child and bringing it to the world with the highest chance of success through amazing graphics. It was an awesome way to describe it. In addition to that, as a producer, I would really recommend that you also consider your pricing strategies when you're leasing beats or making custom tracks. You don't always want to be the cheapest one out there. You also have to think about what is your time worth. And honestly, when people pay a little bit more, they should get quality, but they are also more bought in to see that go to a successful place. Speaking of all this, on the flip side of the coin, my man Ryan Elder, who scores for Rick and Morty, had some awesome bombs to drop on us about creativity and how you can't take things personal. You got to understand that everyone has their different tastes. So Ryan, coming from an advertising background, also pointed out something else critical to understand about music and creativity. Sometimes you are going to put your heart and soul into something and then you will face rejection. Whether that's releasing a single and it doesn't get as much love as you thought, or submitting a song for things like advertising, television, movies, or what have you. Sometimes these guys are taking up to 100 submissions. Let's listen in to a situation where Ryan Elder was able to turn his trash into cash. And now the theme song for Rick and Morty went from a rejected submission to a legendary song that everybody recognizes.
Yeah, so the show was a pitch for a different show to a different network that was like more of a kids show. Mm-hmm. And the network passed on it. I couldn't tell you why. I think it's great.
Yeah.
You can actually watch on Justin's website. I think you can watch the parts of it. Maybe you'll even hear the Rick and Morty music on it.
Wow.
And when they passed on that, I retain the rights to that music because they didn't want it. So when we were working on Rick and Morty, it was just like, hey, we need some music for the main title just for now. And I was like, hey, we all love this. Why don't we just throw it in and it'll hold the place of whatever's going to go there eventually. And it just we could never find a reason to get rid of it at that point. So that's why, that's what it is.
Right. I mean, I guess you never know how something will get received by others. So whatever, that show didn't work out. But the fact of the matter is you produced that song for it and then you had that in your repertoire, right? So you're able to pull that out. And obviously, it's a legendary track now.
Yeah, it's crazy. Working on ads, like that's one of the first lessons you learn is that you get rejected constantly, right? Because when you're working on ads, you're competing with like 10 other tracks at least.
Right.
Sometimes I've heard of spots where they solicited 75 demos from 75 different composers.
Wow.
and then they pick one, right?
Yeah.
And so 74 people are just like left with this track they wrote that might be amazing. Mm-hmm. It just wasn't quite amazing enough. And a lot of these music houses, they monetize these tracks that didn't sell.
Yeah.
And so that's one thing I learned very early, like keep everything, even if it's just a sketch that you hate, because you never know when you need to use it later or when it could just be the seed for something else later. And, the Rick and Morty soundtrack is a great example of that.
Wow. I've heard that sentiment on so many different episodes that I've recorded. I've heard it from people firsthand, and they've also heard of friends who have saved a song for years, potentially, who have submitted it to things on end and got no love until there was finally a breakthrough. I'm going to tell you all right now, all my listeners, in your archives right now, you might have that track that could be a breakthrough song. It might be that you're going to license that to a singer who's got a well-known name and a well-known brand, or it might be your own creation or something you're going to license to creative content, video, etc. Don't throw away a thing. Do not hit that delete button and save those files. Go back periodically, check them out. Something might just click where you need to add one different drum, and that thing is a slam dunk. Earlier in this episode, I invited everybody to go join the Facebook group. I invite you once more. FERMImusic.com/Facebook, hit join, fill out 3 questions, and get in this group so we can support each other through these struggles. Somebody that spoke on collaboration and supporting each other on my show was my man DogmaBeats from the Pacific Northwest. It's so important to support each other in this business and in this music industry. A lot of times people are stingy with the love. A lot of times people act like it's all competition and there can only be one winner. That is far from the truth. There is so much opportunity out there. You just heard Ryan Elder talk about hundreds of submissions. Some of those submissions might not get selected, right? There can only sometimes be one ad slot. But not being that track that's selected doesn't mean that it's not awesome. In light of that, let's listen to Dogma talk about how he got started and the people showing him love on Instagram and answering questions when he sent them direct messages let him become a rock star musician who has now released 3 EPs in 1 year. Let's check it out.
Is Sarah Too Ill? Do you know her by chance?
I've heard of her, yeah.
Yeah, she's super cool. I watched all her videos. She's sweet. She'll comment back on anybody's stuff if you tag her or if you comment on her stuff. And I really love that. I really love that, you know, in a lot of different hobbies, people are very stingy and just think that they're big shots. And, you know, like for me, like if MK, you know, I've used to message him all the time too, asking him questions. You know, if he never messaged me back, I might not be doing this either, you know? So I think the big take home is just be a good person and, you know, help out those people that are trying to learn, because you never know if you're that person that makes them who they are, you know, or helps them be who they are.
Man, that was great to hear Dogma not only get love from others, but show love on my show. He shouted out so many artists that were instrumental in getting him started on this journey. I just really want to underscore that for yourself personally, you could be that person that inspires somebody else around you, whether they're directly next to you or across the world over the internet. Them seeing your videos, them hearing your encouragement or answers to their questions could be the missing link. On my show recently has been the fact that you just need to put things out. Yeah, you got to have a certain level of quality before you release songs, but I see way too many artists out there who are doubting themselves and waiting for next year to put out an album when really they just need to get the ball rolling. Somebody who talked about that was Tai.Kun, the lo-fi hip-hop artist from LA. A huge theme in the show, right? And love from listeners tied into this as well. Not only did he start putting out his music, but he has built a strong following over the last few years, and a listener recommended him to me, and that's how he got on this show. So I think that really highlights the fact that musicians got to show musicians love. Recommend them to other people out there who might have a network or an opportunity to showcase them. Let's listen into what he said and a little bit about his appreciation for his audience.
But also, like, I feel like putting out the music, like, just telling yourself that, you know, maybe someone will like this, just that little bit of hope, like, goes a long way. Like, a year ago, no one was listening to my music, and now I have kind of some following, but it's just because one day I decided to put it out there.
For sure, man. And actually, I'm not sure if you're even aware of this. I kind of mentioned it to you over the Instagram chat. Somebody else recommended me to know who you are and ask you to be on the show. Do you know that?
That's crazy. Like, I remember you said that to me, but like, I forgot about it until now. That's so crazy.
Yo, congratulations, man. Shout out to Yanni Makes Music. I think that's the name on Instagram.
Yanni.
Yeah. She's a big fan of lo-fi, I believe, and just instrumentalist herself. Listened to the show and said, "Hey, have you heard of Tai.Kun? You should check him out." So shout out.
Thanks, Yanni. I really appreciate it. Like you've been following me for a while, actually. Like one of the people that followed me right from the get-go. I was still like, my name actually originally was DJ Little C-SPAN. We've come a long way, Yanni.
DJ Little C-SPAN, y'all. Oh my goodness.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
That one cracks me up.
It was supposed to be funny. Thank you.
Oh, that beats my favorite collaborator when I was in college, DJ Cream Cheese, man. I like.
I don't know. That's a good one.
I don't know, man. DJ Little C-SPAN's pretty good too. All right, I left in a little bit of jokes, a little bit of laughs as well. He touched on the importance of showing love to your audience, how the word of mouth can spread your brand. And we also just joked around, we've been having a lot of fun on this show. Another guest that I've had a lot of fun with, both on the episode and offline, is my man, Nat Dude from Late Night Messages. He has officially been my youngest guest on the show. He's currently in high school. He is a senior right now. Shout out once again. Let's check out what he said about how Gen Z looks at artists, what is popular right now. He said he's not the most qualified, but I think he gave us some hot tips and really also highlighted that it is okay to be at any level in your current recording process. In fact, people really love and respect those bedroom artists who are making it happen even though it's on a shoestring budget. What's on the come up, because our next generation is the future. I know a lot of people try to act like that's not the case, but it's obviously true.
I wouldn't say I'm like 100% qualified to dictate what is popular.
Yeah.
Because I'm by no means popular at my own high school.
Yeah.
But I'd say meme rap is getting like really more popular.
Yeah.
And I think artists who are more, they call themselves self-made, and like they make songs in their bedroom, and it's like so different from older generations where you have to go to studio and record, and that's where you focus your music on.
Nice. So you actually see that whole element of, hey, I'm a bedroom producer, or I'm a singer-songwriter, and I just record this literally from my mattress or something in the bed or in maybe the garage. That's kind of what you hear all the artists saying that you guys listen to.
Yeah, I think it's cool. I think it inspires people because they're like, well, if they can make it in their garage or just on their bed, I think it inspires people to be like, oh, maybe I can do it too. And I think that's probably what's really cool about it.
Z perspective, and I really wanted to highlight just what is important to recognize no matter the level you are at right now. Don't get too hung up on your equipment. I feel like that's ultra common with the new beginners. They are often emailing me when I ask to my email list. They're saying, I'm not really able to excel because my equipment is substandard. I don't have money to go to the studio. I don't have the newest, latest, greatest MIDI keyboard that I saw on YouTube. Guess what? Just put your material out. I've literally seen amazing tracks built just clicking and dragging with the mouse. You can do this with really anything. And that Gen Z perspective that Late Night Messages shared really highlights that bedroom producers get a lot of respect. And honestly, don't we all love that American dream aspect of hearing about people who are pushing through and making things happen, even if they don't have the top-notch equipment? One thing that will be going on deeper in future episodes of the Music Producer's Treasure Box is marketing. It really is everything. This is an amazing time to be a creator. There is so many tools. But marketing is a bit of the magic, right? So we're going to dig into that in future episodes, and I think it really ties into what my man King Kashmere spoke about when it comes to being on a record label. One thing as an artist that you really have to understand is you got to have that marketing. Now, certain indie artists are going to have a natural knack for that and be able to market and actually own that piece for themselves. But if you are really just that creative type, or if you value that creative time more than thinking about marketing strategies, hooking up with the label might be right up your alley. Let's hear King Cash talk about how lucky he is to be working with the True Thoughts record label for his newest project.
Yeah, it feels amazing, man, because, you got to think not everyone's like that. Do you know what I mean? Not everyone's like that. And, yeah, I've been in situations in the past where it just didn't really seem like, people cared, But these guys, man. And also, like you mentioned, Strange You, like basically the label that's on, High Focus, again, same thing, man. You know what I mean? All those guys that run the label are all music heads. So, when it comes to actually getting it done and getting things done, it's like there's that extra drive because they care. So that's definitely a plus with being on a label. Now, that's not to say that being on a label is a fit for everybody. You know what I mean? It's like some people might thrive more independent, but that in itself comes with a lot of stresses. But again, it should, you know what I mean? Because it's a tough game to get ahead in, man. But yeah, personally, I still see the value in labels. Call me sort of like old fashioned or whatever, but it kind of works for me, man. You know what I mean?
We had shared so many different clips from different episodes on the Music Producers Treasure Box today, but really we could not encapsulate all of the knowledge bombs that people like King Kashmere, who you just heard, and many others have dropped. I just deleted a bunch of clips because this could be an hour upon hour episode, but I'm gonna go ahead and hold off and just invite you to go back, check it out, episodes 1 through 25. Since last April, we've been dropping bombs left and right. What I'm really excited about, honestly, is we have so many other guests lined up, already recorded, already edited, or at least on my calendar that I can't wait to bring to you. We're going to be diving deep on the business of music as well as the creative side. And I'm going to tell you what, these next 25 episodes are probably going to surpass the previous and blow your mind. Just a reminder, earlier on in the episode, I invited you to go over to FERMImusic.com/Facebook. You need to join our community because this show is only a once a week occurrence. And I ask all the questions, right? It's time for you to go ask some questions of your peers and of myself. I'm happy to answer them for you. Go ahead and drop us a line, FERMImusic.com/Facebook, and be ready to join an active community, y'all. We're about to build together, whether it's questions around creativity, VSTs, publicity, and other business elements. All right, with that being said, peace out. I will see y'all next week with an amazing guest. Yo, hit subscribe and be ready to hear some dope music next week. Peace.